Hi, everyone. This is Carmel with the Financial Tea. So let me tell you, I came across this post by Gilly today where, if you know him, he's on Instagram. He's probably on the other sites, but that's where I follow him on Instagram. He's funny, really funny. But nonetheless, he posted about how one of his followers, apparently a college student, a male student, turned around and asked him to pay for his tuition for him. And so Gilly responded in classical Gilly fashion, and he said, "Hell no!" He basically said, "Hell no! Do I look like your daddy? You definitely ain't my son since I ain't been with your mom." And so basically, it was his way of saying, "No, I'm not paying for you." And so it was funny when I read the response, of course, written in his words. It was funny, but the problem with that was I was interested in some of the comments to see what other people had to say about it. And so there was one comment that stood out to me where the woman posted that, "Aw," and she said it kind of like in a loving way to me. She's like, "Aw, come on, he probably just looked up to you. And that's why he just, asked you, to help him out, he didn't really mean anything by it." And next thing after that, another guy, so that was the lady who posted, this guy turned around and said, "Who cares? No man is supposed to do something else for another man. Black man is supposed to do something else for another black man." And so then the woman started saying, well, how as Black people, we kind of do have more of a responsibility to really help one another out, especially when we're in a financial position to do so. And then the guy turned around and he posted how we do not have a responsibility to do something. We don't have the responsibility to, basically, just because we're well off, we're not legally obligated or morally obligated to help somebody out, regardless of how well our situation is. That in the end, if they want to do something with their life, they have to do it themselves. So what's interesting is I could see both parts of the argument, but I have to say, out of both sides, who do I side with more? I side with the female more. And here's my reason why. So first and foremost, I do 100% believe that we have to stop this habit of counting other people's pockets. Whatever somebody has with their money, that's their money. What they decide to do with their money, that is their business. We do not have the right to say, well, because somebody is rich or somebody is wealthy or well off, that they have to look out for X, Y, and Z. Because this is, the last time I checked, in America, a free country. It is, the land of opportunity. For some, the opportunities easier than others. Yes, we do agree that the playing field is not right, etc., or equal or fair. We're not even going to go there. The bottom line is it still is an opportunity, and people do have the right to and the means to go for theirs when they need to. So I understand that. And therefore, just because somebody has it doesn't mean that they have to just go back and give it away to somebody else who doesn't have it. No, if they did it, that's true. Somebody else can do it too. But the second thing I want to add to that is also, you never know how people are actually helping out. A long time ago, I remember people constantly making the argument about Jay-Z, for example, Beyonce too, but Jay-Z specifically, because I know a lot more of what he's doing now, how people used to say Jay-Z was wrong for having all that money and never giving back to the community, blah, 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 blah. And come to find out later on, years later, that no, all along, Jay-Z has been very much so giving back to many folks in the Black community and contributing very powerfully towards Black causes. So once again, this tells you why you should not count other people's pockets. You don't even know what other people are doing in the first place. But let's just assume that they, even if they are or they're not. Why do I say I side with the woman? The reason why was something she said that was powerful about, first of all, he could have been a kid that was looking up to Gilly, right? And so you have to understand, Gilly's followers are predominantly Black, right? And he's in college, so that makes him a kid because he didn't say pay my student loans. He said pay my tuition, which means he's still in school, so he's technically a kid, right? And so one of the things that I found interesting, and this is where the other guy went back to. Let me refresh this too. The other guy said, look, the black men could be learning skills. They could be doing whatever. They don't have to go to college in the first place anyway to make their money. And so the bottom line is they have all of these ways to make money that they don't need somebody else paying for their tuition. So why do I go back to the female being right? Because of the fact that in the end, too often in this country, and I see this predominantly also as a mother of a black male child. Well, technically, he's on his way to college soon, but nonetheless, technically still a kid. And what eventually happened, and the boy, son, male, young man, whatever you want to call him. And so what happens is that there's not enough programs, I keep believing, that are targeting our black young boys. I do not believe that there's anywhere near enough programs that are targeting our black male boys, our black boys. Why do I say that? I remember when my son was in second grade and I was just trying to find the Big Brothers program to go ahead and sign him up for. And what eventually happened was come to find out that he was put on the list of 898. He was made 898 on this list simply because, a waiting list. He was put on the waiting list simply because there weren't enough black male mentors. And what's interesting is that the black for the females, there was not a waiting list, but for the males, there was a waiting list. And the only way he could have jumped the list, they asked these questions: is he currently incarcerated? Has he ever been in trouble with the law before? Blah blah blah. And all of the questions, I'm like, what? Are you serious? You asking these questions, and my son is only in second grade? What kind of kid did you expect? And so to me, it was sad because I walked away as a parent saying, Dag, my son in a single parent household, no real male role models. I'm like, I really wanted something for him and there was nothing available for him. It was just put on this waiting list, which to this day, we still haven't heard back. Years later, still haven't heard back anything about being bumped up from this list. So I remember going to Facebook that day, telling the black posting on social media saying, look, my son was on this waiting list. There's apparently a shortage of black male mentors. Please, can somebody, please, some of you who are my friends, turn around and volunteer? And crickets, not one person responded to the post. And I have to admit, as a woman, who knows so many well-educated, awesome black men, husbands, fathers, you name it, highly educated folks doing well for themselves, I was kind of hurt, because not one person even took to the post. They didn't respond. They didn't say anything. They didn't have a discussion about it. No, nothing. And so think about all of the black males who literally, other than my son, who got nobody. And meanwhile, when you talk about black females, they got people lining up all the time to give them these supports. When you talking about programs, once again, being a mom, right? I always saw how there was coding programs for the young black girls to go to, the colleges for free for coding, for programs, for whatever. Programs that's going to pay for them for college if they want to go into nursing or, something else, if they want to take up a career in STEM, technology, sciences, things of that nature. Always targeting the girls, programs for the girls for etiquette and programs for girls for everything. But these programs were not existent for boys. And I have to be honest, too. Anytime you hear of something for the boys, it's always, in my opinion, something that's very superficial. Hey, let me go shake hands at the outside of the school, on the first day of school. Let me go show how to show the young men how to tie a tie. Yeah, you're here one day and you're going tomorrow, right? You're here one day showing a tie, nice photo op, and then going tomorrow. It's nothing really of substance about building character, nothing really of substance about instilling a new skill, nothing of substance about how to be a man, especially in the fact of the reality. Too many boys these days are growing up in single parent households, mostly female dominated households, etc. So to me, it shows the need. So why do I say all of this, and what does this have to do with finances and financial tea? It goes back to that kind of like that responsibility. When the woman spoke, I saw that. And this is one of the things that I do kind of believe, not kind of, I really do believe, that, yes, technically when it comes to wealth, you do have what you do with your money is ultimately your responsibility. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that, no debate in that, etc. But I do also believe that, especially when you're Black, that we kind of do have a double burden, and anybody who's black and been to predominantly white college, work in a predominantly white environment, etc., you understand this too. We do have that sort of kind of double burden of excelling and going above and beyond. And so that double burden is to actually go back and help out, reach back and help out other members of our community. I'm not saying give to anybody just willy-nilly. I'm not saying even Gilly go pay for his college. No, I'm not saying anything of that nature. But just think about the many ways that we actually have, can go back and do things that align with our causes and our values that kind of will help other Black boys to really get to that next level too. Because the truth of the matter is, and you guys can easily do the research, you'll see that there's a big growing gap now between Black men and Black women. And I believe, as a mom, I believe that that gap possibly started because of the younger years. I see now that there's too many supports that are being given towards Black women, and quite possibly because Black women are going back and helping out their own, but also because Black women are benefiting from the move that's just helping out all women in this country. But you have to understand that there's not a move to help out all men in this country, because this world is the world is patriarchal, and America is extremely patriarchal, and white men tend to dominate America. So why do they need specialized programs to help them when they already dominate? They don't. So, and this country really doesn't want to admit the racial problems that it really has. So they're not going out and making programs specifically targeting Black males. And so if you got Black women who's benefiting by being women, so they can benefit from the programs geared towards all women, and then you got Black women who do recognize, and because of their need for nurturing and etc., they turn back and they help, then where does that leave our Black boys? So the reason why I'm bringing this all up, Gilly, if you're listening, or anybody who's listening, of course, you are 100% in your right to do as whatever you want to do with your money. You've done what you needed to do, and that's it. That's why you should enjoy your money. But what I do also recommend, and I just pray that more of us really start to find, is how can we try to find ways to be of service to people in our community and to do things that really align with our sort of values. So if I'm a comedian, would I want to do something that's going to help other boys who aspire to be a comedian? If I'm in the movie business, do I want to go ahead and use my connections to help other young Black boys possibly get into film or movies or things of that nature? If I'm, a construction worker, do I want to go ahead and make a program that's going to teach boys and give them a love of construction at an early age, and a passion for construction, and seeing the business side that's needed for starting possibly their own business, etc. So just things of that nature. Okay. So with that said and done, this is Carmel with the Financial Tea, and I'm out.